Hello everyone, my name is Diego Alfonso and one of your hosts with the Florida Aviation Network. Broadcasting live and in the clear from the Florida Air Museum at the Sorenson complex in Lakeland, Florida. We're celebrating the 40th anniversary of Sorenson Fly-In and Exposition. Today, our guests are, well actually, is a team. There's two pilots, a team. First, I'm going to introduce Mark Sorenson. Mark, welcome to the show.
Nice to meet you.
And last but not least, Buck Roteman. Buck, hey. Welcome to the show. Okay, here's the thing. I know Buck. I've seen him before. I met you today. And I understand that you guys have a treat for the people here at Sorenson this year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And I'm dying to get into that. But before we really do that, I want to get some kind of background for you. Our audience would like to know who you are, where are you from, and most importantly, the pilot history. So what I'd like you to do is go back to as far as you can go when that dream just spark in your mind and say, Dad or Mom, I want to be a pilot. Go ahead.
It was pretty much like an air show, just like this. At the age of 6 years old, I grew up in a middle-sized town in Missouri, Cape Girardeau. Some may know it. But we went to a small town show in Carbondale, Illinois, which is only about 30, 40 miles away. And that is when I was hooked on airplanes at a young age, which everything fascinated me about them. And I just kind of immersed myself around with toys and models and whatever. And I think I was probably the youngest subscriber to a magazine called Air Progress back then. Had ripped out the centerfold and actually made wallpaper in my room out of the centerfolds. And then I was fortunate enough to get into model avionics, you know, radio control back then in junior high school. That taught me a lot about, you know, how airplanes worked and flew. And then I was fortunate enough to be able to start flight training at the age of 16. And I got all the way done with my flight training and went for my check ride. And it was then my examiner says, you're not old enough yet. It's 17. And I didn't really know that reg. I knew all the other regs at the time. So I wound up going back home and waiting another 6 months to get my private pilot rating on my birthday, and that's how I got started in aviation. So I was in high school when I got my private pilot rating.
That's cool. You know, I'm also a DPE. You probably don't know this, but I've been a DPE for 26 years. I've done over 6,000 rides.
Wow.
I'm not going to tell you that I've seen everything, but I've seen almost everything. And I've seen that.
Yes.
A couple times, you know, where the kids are throwing twos and they feel that they're ready to go, and here you go, hey, you got 6 months to go, bud, you know, I mean,
exactly.
You got to go back to the drawing board. Now, what got you into aerobatics?
I've always been fascinated with aerobatics, but primarily, again, air shows. I was been an EA member, you know, throughout high school, would make the annual pilgrimage to Oshkosh. It wasn't until about 15 years ago that I discovered Sun and Fun. But, you know, but Oshkosh, I was being up in Missouri, it was a little bit easier of a travel to go to Oshkosh. And that's where I was really intrigued by the performers in aerobatics. And like anything, they inspire people, you know, and that's what I wanted to do at some point in my career, you know, not necessarily right then and there, but at some point I wanted to be able to pay it back or pay it forward in that case. And that's what got me interested in it. And then I just had opportunities to take a, you know, spin training when you do your CFI. That was intriguing. Every now and then I had a aerobatic, you know, Citabria available. I'd go out and loop and roll that. I even had a Mooney once I would roll it every now and then. Didn't say that out loud. But these are all my
listening,
younger.
they're listening.
That was in my younger years, you know. But that was that was where I was kind of had the bug for it. Then I got a Globe Swift, and I had and that's where, you know, somebody says, you know, the Swift aerobatic team was around back then, and they did a very nice, graceful ballet with the airplane, and I taught myself a little bit more of the loops and the rolls and the Cuban eights and you know, the basic gentleman's aerobatics with that. And I says, you know what, I really want to get into aerobatics, but I didn't think I could. It was a good fit to start out in like a small pits because I'm a larger than normal guy, and the Model 12 pits was just coming out, and that was kind of a perfect fit. But at the time, it was still a little bit out of my financial reach. And that's when somebody says that you should look into the Yak 55. It's a single place airplane, but it's got everything that you need, and it's a tame enough airplane you can start in, but if you learn it right in an airplane, it'll take you as far as you want to go. And so I did, and that's what I've had today, still have today, and it's one of the one airplane that I fly is the one we started with in the team.
Perfect. Buck, let's get to you here. Same question. Tell us about where Buck comes from and what was the spark, the dream that got you into flying.
Born in Alaska, grew up in Minnesota, and I'm one of the ones I don't ever remember not wanting to fly. From the time I can remember building models, reading magazines. I never can remember not wanting to learn to fly. And my dad and I came to an agreement with growing up on a farm that in the mornings, if I got my chores done, then I could work at the airport. And worked at the airport and traded it for flight time, and got my pilot's license the summer of my senior year. And the Beach Aero Center in Minneapolis had a decathlon. And I took the aerobatic course there and continued to practice, and eventually, as I became an instructor there, ended up instructing aerobatics. Got out of it for a few years to race cars, and got back into it about 15 years ago, and been doing air shows now for 14 years in various airplanes and things. And Mark lives down the road, and got to know him, and he said, "Hey, you interested in trying this?" And let's go.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I watched you perform before, and I'll tell you, I'm impressed. I've been impressed. I think that you really do a great job, and I'm looking forward to see this new thing, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. But I guess the question is, who is Walkabout, and how did that team got started? You want to address that?
Yeah, it's when I started the team with the Tigers, you know, I always tried to have a synergy fit with something that the public could relate to. And, you know, that's why I chose the Tiger theme. You know, we dress like trainers, so it's really not about us as much as about the image that we create with the public. You know, the Tigers are just as famous, just like the Blue Angels. It's the planes that are famous. The pilots interchange, and we wanted to start it this way, but if we had to, we still wanted to keep the image alive, even if we had to rotate pilots in. If I got sick, we'd have another pilot come in. So we were not only the stars to the I guess say inside group, but to the public we would be an entity. And that's what it is. And then Walkabout is we came upon them because they provide us with the look, the hats, the shirts, the garments that we wear, and that's how they came on board initially. And I says, but then what we've soon found out after we started the air show business is the public wanted what we were wearing, not just because they wanted to look like us, because it was hot out. They wanted shade. They wanted cool shirts that breathe.
I'll tell you, I'm getting me one of those, because those things that look hot, look good,
comfortable.
They look
very
good.
comfortable. And when we put these two together and we said, listen, you need to come to the shows with us and identify with the public that receives us, you know, I think you're going to have great success. And they're here at Sun and Fun this week, and I think Building D, you know, they're overwhelmed with the response of.
And they go by the name of?
They're Walkabout. Walkabout. It's Down Under Enterprises, but they go under the name Walkabout.com.
Okay. Walkabout.com. Remember that. Son of Fun. Building?
Yeah. They're in Building D.
Building D.
Yep.
Don't forget that.
Yeah, they could sell out this week, so if you want a hat or anything like that, get over there quick. But that's how they came about, and with them teaming up with us, we're hitting a home run with the public. We're well received. They enjoy the show. They have a good time. It's a family-oriented thing. The kids love it. We have Buck and I've kind of developed a No Child Left Behind autograph session.
That's good.
And we'll spend an hour and a half until the crowd goes away, not until we need to go away.
That is a lost art for performers. Not so much performers, but people sometimes make it and they don't want to bother with the kids. And the kids are it. I mean, you have no idea what you're going to do with that kid, how you're going to influence that kid just by signing.
I'm living proof of that. At the age of 6, it was that one performer that took the time and said, you can do this too. And it's the same way today. You can do it if you put your heart to it and keep your mindset. And that's why we do the autographs, so they can take it home, they can put it on their wall, they can look at it, they can be inspired, not just at the show, but at home, and to want to follow their dreams. And that's what it's all about. I think, like you said, it's a lost thing, with today's youth.
And we really need to continue that,
right.
Because that's the whole idea. And we want to get the youth into this. Like, JetBlue just came here and landed with like over 200 kids in the airplane.
Yes.
And you have Young Eagles, and you have all these institutions, that are really trying to motivate kids and to continue flying. And those who like airplanes but feel that they can't do it.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Those are the ones we have to, get on them. Okay, so now let me ask you this. Talk to us a little bit about the routines, the show itself. What if I'm going to go out there and watch today? Either one of you can take and field this one. What are we going to see?
We're going to. You'll see a lot of precision formation flying to begin the show. The loops. Wing changes position. We've got I don't want to let the cat out of the bag, but the second.
Oh, no. I didn't mean
the second
to do
maneuver.
That. Yeah.
Our second maneuver is we're the only ones in this country doing it. It's kind of spectacular. And so
anything that is a surprise, I don't want you to. I just want like a big picture kind of thing, because people would like to know that. So
yeah, and we open it up with some formation, and then we split and do some head-on passes, some solo maneuvers, and some real interesting rejoins. And then get back together. Mark does what we call a watch pass, and it's a formation photo pass. And Mark has his watch up, and if you take a picture with some of these huge lenses and can tell us what time it is and send it in, we choose the best picture, and then you'll get something in the mail.
Okay, let me ask you this. I guess as any team doing anything, not necessarily aerobatics or whatever, skiing, whatever it is, I guess you guys have what I call a quiet time before any performance, and you guys sit down. Can you talk us through, either one of you, on what goes on in the decision making? In other words, from the point that you get together to by the time you get the go no go decision, what goes on there? What is the
well, in the air show industry, we like to call it their sterile time, where whether it be 30 minutes or an hour, every individual or team is differently. We try to make at least a minimum of the last 30 minutes is sterile. And prior to that 30 minutes, we will do a walkthrough, so where there's no cell phones, there's nothing to distract us, it's just him and I. We're going to go through and we're going to walk through the routine side by side like we're in position flying. And I'm going to make the exact same calls, as I would over the radio to him, so he knows what to expect, what to hear, what the calls are going to be as we're doing the formation, what the maneuvers are, and this puts it fresh in your memory, and that also gives you right up to the time where, if there's anything, we can feel the wind, because we try to walk the line to where we can feel the wind and say, okay, the wind's going to push us this way. This is the corrections we need to make. These are the sight pictures based on the diagram we got at the briefing that we're going to make our pull points. Because our ultimate goal is to cross at the middle when we cross every time. Even though our end maneuvers may be a little bit out of sync, it's only out of sync because we have to fight the wind. So he may go up first on the left and I may go up last on the right, but that's only because, you know, I've got to fight the wind so we can still meet at the middle. Otherwise, the whole show kind of moves downstream, and people in Orlando are now watching the show, not the people here in Lakeland. So, so that's what we concentrate on, and that's what our sterile time is for. And then we either walk away or we go in our car and we rest or whatever, and we get in the airplane and we get into our mode. And so everything is fresh, it's what it is. So anything that comes up unexpectedly will trigger, is this something we need to evaluate now, push the show time or what at that point. But that's basically.
Okay, I'm kind of walking you back.
Okay.
I guess before that, you have to reach a decision, both of you, maintenance-wise, equipment-wise. Tell me, if I was a fly on a curtain here, what would I be hearing or listening to? What kind of evaluations you guys make about the airplane, the maintenance issues, and that type of thing?
From a maintenance standpoint, the airplanes both go through a pretty extensive annual over the winter, and we'll do any updates, tear them apart as far as we can get them, look at things, and try to be real proactive with the maintenance. You know, make sure brakes, wheels, tires, everything's up to snuff, so you don't end up with problems on the road. We go through that, and then as far as the maneuvers and preparing ourselves, is we'll sit down and talk about different additions, subtractions, and then go out and during spring training very extensively practice them. Usually we'll do them solo first, be very competent and comfortable solo, then we'll move in a little bit closer, and I fly wing, and you know, so we build the trust level up, and then try to get some honest coaching. You know, this looks good, this doesn't, what was that? And
it's the old adage, from the simple to the complex.
Yes.
Take it easy, one step at a time.
Yeah.
And, now, I'm going to go a step further back, and at some point you guys have to consider weather. Probably today is not a big deal because today it looks like it's nice out there, but tell me what goes on weather-wise when you guys are incorporating that decision into the final go, no-go decision.
Well, fortunately, we have some pretty strict guidelines that are built in for safety as far as sealing is concerned. You know, 1,500 feet is typically the minimum sealing that an air show needs to host an air show safely. Now, that can be waived to a lower ceiling if the FAA allows that to happen. However, it's still ultimately up to the pilot or the team to make that final call. Is this weather within my routine's design, and is it within the safety ability? Can I do it out? Now, a lot of teams will do what they call a flat show, where, you know, okay, the weather, we may have it like the Blue Angels will do a flat show in lieu of their big show because they use 8,000 feet of vertical airspace. You know, we don't quite use 8,000 feet, but we'll use 1,500. So if they authorize the show to be performed at 1,000 feet, well, we're going to use 1,500 of it. Either we have to modify our show to be a flat show, or we just have to say, you know what, we haven't practiced our flat show, we're not comfortable with doing it, we're not going to do that today. And at that point, we are the final, you know, authority to say we don't fly, just because we don't want to, you know, be a statistic. You know, we want the crowd to have a good time, and weather is a very acceptable, you know, cause for delay or cancellation.
Exactly. Now, I'm going to tell you, see, you probably don't know this, but I'm an ex-FAA inspector. I retired about a year and a half ago, 2012. And I've done a lot of air shows, you know, where we go and we got to go through all the, you know, the rigmarole, checking your cards, and the maintenance guys who look at the records of the airplane and all that. But there's another area that probably, if you're a pilot, you may know this. If you're not a pilot, you may not know this. But even if you're a pilot, you don't know. So I'm going to put them on the spot here. There's also another area that you have to bring into the equation for making your decisions, and that is the logistics of the airport and how the air show is controlled. In other words, what has the FAA approved or issued, and how you have to conduct your procedures of maneuver in reference to the people on the ground. Was that something that they may want to hear about?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's in 8900, which is the inspector's handbook, and it's guidelines for basically to keep the American public safe at air shows. And with the airplanes that we're flying today, we're on a Category 1 show line, which is 500 feet. So we will be a minimum of 500 feet from the crowd to the airplanes. As the airplanes gets faster, there's 2 other stages which goes to 1,000 feet, and then the Blue Angels that you'll see this weekend are on a 1,500-foot line, and it's for the protection of the American public. And we're not allowed to direct energy at the crowd. We can't fly at the crowd, and anything. You know, this is about having people come and have a safe, fun time and go home. You know.
And that's the reason why I asked you that question, because I like the people at the air show to feel safe, to feel that every I has been dotted and every T has been crossed for the purpose of their safety. I didn't know that until I joined the FAA, and I got trained on how to conduct air shows or surveil the air shows. And then I came up to all this kind of regulation where I said, oh my God, everything is just done to protect the public.
I'm an aerobatic competency evaluator, which is similar to a DPE, but it's for aerobatics. And the majority of our check ride, or not the majority, but it's very, the point is stressed very highly of situational awareness. Where are you? Where's the crowd? What have you got to do to protect them? You know what? So
because a lot of the public doesn't know that.
Correct.
They just come here and watch the airplane, and it really doesn't know what goes on behind closed doors for their protection. You know. Okay, now I'm going to go to another issue. I want you to think, and you can start thinking too, because I'm coming back to you. War stories. What can you tell us about your experience performing aerobatics that either didn't work out the way you expected, or you consider that it was kind of a, I don't want to say war story in itself, but it got your attention? In other words, you were concerned. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, fortunately, we have, since we've been performing at a team, we haven't really experienced any war stories that we can say that was too close, because we make it a covenant that we practice the impossible, okay, and eliminate the hazard before we take it to the show. And we create the grand illusion that what we're doing out there is daredevil stunts and stuff like that, when really it's more a choreographed ballet that we've designed to fit each and every venue. Now, there are certain venues, okay, that have high density altitude, that are mountainous, that our routine probably won't work there, and we will have to make adjustments for that when in the event that we ever have to go. But to eliminate all that prior to going to a venue, you know, gives us the ability that when we get down on the debrief, we can say, well, how'd that go? Well, that went pretty good. Or we can sit there and say, well, I didn't quite like the way that, and we can be picky, but the public will never know.
Right.
And that's the mission that we have to have. We have to have a safe show that creates the illusion that it's extremely dangerous, you know, and that's where, you know, where it takes the practice.
Well, I guess the key to success in anything is being able to be self-critic. And really be hard on you.
Yes.
And set those boundaries and don't cross them.
Correct. Exactly. And you got to be willing to own your mistakes. That's the key thing, you know.
I think what you just mentioned, the ability to debrief, to take possession of your mistakes, to make the commitment to, is one of the things that's missing in this country right now, or all over the world, is the ability to say, you know what, I screwed this up. I need to fix it. I do, not blaming anybody else. And it is, and the one thing I've learned through formation aerobatics is the briefing is very important in preparation, but the debrief. And I think if we could, if everybody could take part in any big projects, business decisions, and then debrief it and be honest, you know, this we did well, this we didn't, here's the changes we would make the next time, and I think it would make, you know, a huge difference.
Constructive criticism is the key.
Yeah.
And everybody should be able to accept that in any walk of life, not necessarily aerobatics, or in any walk of life, because that is exactly what keeps you alive and keeps you on the right track, you know.
But as far as war stories go, if you'll come out and watch our routine, we've got something that nobody else in the world is doing. Is we've got a freestyle period where we fly through smoke rings. That's the 3-ring circus. And we have a lot of fun with that in the smoke ring generator. And a year ago, I was in a little early on one, and I got up real close to it, and I looked at it, and I noticed it was still orange. It was still burning. I thought, well, it'll be okay, and flew through it, and the engine quit. Just momentarily.
There was no air out there.
Yes. So stay away from the orange ones. They're not ripe yet.
That's correct. And that's how we learn, right? We learn from our mistakes. Well, I'll tell you, I want you to know that I don't know you. I know him, and I really enjoy your performance, your previous performances. I have no doubt that I'm going to enjoy your performance just as well. We wish you the greatest luck in the world, and hope you have a great show. I know everybody out there will be looking for you guys. And you are Twin Tiger Aerobatic Team. You listen? Twin Tiger Aerobatic Teams. And I want to thank you for joining us. My name is Diego Alfonso with the Florida Aviation Network, and we will be back very soon.